Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.
Why ignoring a problem only makes it worse, putting a spotlight on suicide instead of leaving it in the shadows. And the Christian thing to do, how Christian care is marking 100 years and counting in the cities. April 6, 2014 is not an easy date for Christine Schmidt to remember. It was on that date her 12-year-old daughter, Morgan, ended her life. A 12-year-old committing suicide in part because of social and online harassment. Although that day may be tough for Christine Schmidt, she's now spending every day trying to inform other parents about suicide, encouraging kids younger than her, Morgan, that there's more to life than the black hole they may face, and making sure all of us don't close the door on suicide, hiding it under lock and key. That's why Christine created a group called It's All Love, Only Love, and it's also why she's taking part in a documentary you can watch on WQPT called If Only You Knew. Joining us now is Christine Schmidt and the producer of the documentary, Mike Mickle. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Does it ever get too hard to talk about this? Does it ever get too hard to cope with the loss of such a young one?
I would absolutely agree that sometimes it does get too difficult. However, I think that this is much bigger than myself, it's bigger than my family, it's bigger than Morgan. And what we've realized over the last 2.5 almost years since we've been talking to families and in the community is that this is an epidemic that we can't hide from any longer. Mm-hmm. And the more and more we talk about it, the more chances we have to provide hope and also help, and that's what we're trying to do. And so as tough as it might be, I feel like I need to just pull up my bootstraps every day, and it's just become my mission of the heart.
Well, and Mike, let's be honest, this documentary could not be done without a person like Christine who's willing to stand in the spotlight and talk about it.
Absolutely. We had 3 very brave, courageous families that agreed to share their stories of loss, and I'm amazed by their strength. We also found 2 young adults, one who had contemplated suicide, one who attempted suicide, and they were actually able, Jim, to speak to those kids that may be in that place right now to say, if you get the right help, you can get through this. It doesn't have to consume you.
The original program aired in the spring on WQPT. What were you hoping to achieve through this work?
Jim, I remember going back in the office, and after hearing about some of the issues that are facing teens and tweens in our area, I said to our production team, we're going to become the company that forces the conversation. Because let's face it, some of the documentaries we're doing are on subjects that are not easy to talk about, but it's vitally important that we do because we're losing children in our community on an all too frequent basis. So we just said, this is it, we're going to do it.
Well, and you have so many different conversations that you have to give because it's a different conversation with a child who might be considering ending their life. It's a different conversation you have with their friends and support group, and a totally different conversation you have with the parents. Let's start with the parents. I mean, you've lived through this. Mm-hmm. What is your first message to a parent who may have no idea of the condition of their child?
Well, what I try to do with all of the parents and teachers, whoever it is that's in front of me, is tell them the very real story of inside our family, to paint the real picture of who Morgan was, who our family was, so that they can see that we're just the average, quote-unquote, normal family. So first of all, it can happen to anyone. And then I take them step by step through the time where Morgan was the straight A student, the sports, all of those wonderful things that she was, to the day that she first attempted. And we had absolutely no idea that she was struggling with any kind of depression or anxiety.
Because you described her as gregarious, as you said, a good student,
yes,
a person who really had self-esteem, she could take care of herself.
She seemed to be, absolutely, and that's what I see more and more when I talk to parents who have lost children to suicide, as well as those who have attempted. It's never the ones usually that they think it's going to be. It's these people and these children who are taking their lives, they do have that outer exterior of confidence. Mm-hmm. And I think for the most part they believe that they can handle what they're going through themselves. So by trying to take the parents inside our lives from the very beginning until unfortunately the end, I can hopefully encourage them to go home and really take a look at their kids, but not only take a look at them, to actually have that very real and in-depth conversation and ask the very tough questions of them, not just, oh, you know, how you doing? Are you considering ending your life? Do you want to kill yourself? It's a very big relief to these kids when someone does finally talk to them and ask them those questions.
Because
believe
Mike,
it or not.
like you said, conversation, open up the discussion, but some parents aren't that good at it, and some kids certainly don't want to be a part of it.
No, when we communicate way too often through technology, I can't tell you the number.
Or we talk past each other.
Text messages I get from my children on a daily basis. And to Christine's point, one of the comments that one of the experts said to me is, the days of waiting for your children to come and confide in you are long gone. This has reached epidemic proportions, and you have to be prepared to sit down and say to them, are you in a bad place right now? Are you seriously considering ending your life? But also as important as asking that question is being prepared for the answer that you get and how you react to their response. Because if they say yes, you have to be prepared to counsel them through it, to get them the help they need, and to assure them that you're going to be with them on that journey. And that's something that I learned through the course of the documentary and talking with these experts.
Well, the other thing that every parent would want to know is, what's the silver bullet? I mean, what's that one trigger? What's that one warning sign? And it doesn't exist.
It doesn't. It's like an onion. As you start to peel back the layers, there are more and more layers. There just really are. And I don't think that, in talking with the experts, again, I'm not the expert, I'm the storyteller, but in talking with the experts, I don't think that you can point to one thing and say, oh, if she hadn't or if he hadn't gotten this text message, he wouldn't have done this, because there was something going on before that.
Well, and for Morgan, I mean, I'm sure it's all 20/20 hindsight, because that's the first thing that you must do. Why didn't I catch this one sign, or maybe if I would have caught it sooner? I mean, that just must rack you, you know, with a personal failure that really wasn't your fault nor any other parents.
Absolutely, and that is how most, if not all, parents that I've talked to who have lost their children to suicide, we all live with this incredible guilt of 2020. And the reality is, though, that Morgan thought she could handle whatever it was that was going on inside her mind, her heart, and her body. She didn't want us to know, and therefore we weren't going to know what was happening. I hope and I want to believe that if I had been an educated parent at the time, had been able to talk and listen to stories like ours, maybe I would have been able to have that upfront conversation with her, to ask her how she's feeling. Are you in this bad place? You know, have the conversations with her that I'm currently having with my other 3 children.
Right.
But I can't go back. But that's why it's so important for all of us to continue to bring up this conversation, to save other kids from going through this, and also the families and the friends who are left behind when this happens.
When you talk about Morgan's story, though, you just keep underlining 12-year-old, and you sit there and go, how could it be that young? But that really isn't that young. I mean, that's almost the start of the teenage years, and this is such a crucial time for these young adults.
It absolutely is. And what we have to understand is there is a difference between depression and having suicidal thoughts, as well as following through with that. And so, you know, sometimes just this depression, we can work through it with our kids and with each other through just support and conversation. Sometimes we need to seek professional help and therapy, and maybe there's medications involved with that, but not all people who are depressed are suicidal. But we're not always, as the caregivers, the ones who can judge that as well.
And you can't always assume they're just going to grow out of it.
Absolutely not. And by dismissing their feelings, it's a very big mistake. It could be a deadly mistake.
Well, you've said, Mike, I think twice at least now that you use the word epidemic, and it is what the third leading killer of teenagers is suicide. Of all things, you wouldn't believe that, but statistics show that. I mean, was that an eye-opening statistic for you? Is the amount of a problem this is?
Absolutely. And now, if you look at some reports, Jim, ages 12 to 24, it's now the second leading cause. So the numbers continue to increase. And you know, I'm a father of 3. I have an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 13-year-old at home. Of course this resonates with me. My kids knew Morgan. Matt played on the playground with Andrew, Christine's son. So this hit close to home. for us. And you talk about the age, 12 is way too young, but to a parent, it doesn't matter if they're 12 or they're 60, it's still their child, and they don't want to see them, you know, they don't want to lose them. But I've spoken, since this documentary first aired, with a local father whose 5-year-old son is exhibiting suicidal tendencies, talking about what will heaven look like, and saying that he wants to die and doing self-harming, and they're trying to get him help. At that age, they should be wondering whether they're going to watch Barney or Sesame Street.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not going through something like this.
Yeah, and so heavy for a 5-year-old or a 12-year-old. I mean, just such
Absolutely.
a heavy burden that you wouldn't think that they would be burdened by that. And that is not a description of the household.
No,
it's not an
not at all.
indication of bad parenting
No.
or a bad situation at home.
No, every one of those homes that I walked into to do the interview, you could feel the love in those homes. I mean, I'm sitting next to a woman who would do anything for any of her children. That's not the case. It's not that it was neglect. It's the makeup of the child and what's going on inside that child, and their ability to keep things from us, their feelings from us. They're way better at that than I think many parents realize.
You probably are right. Since you put the documentary on, you've also held roundtables, you've had discussions. That must be also very encouraging for you, is just the open dialogue that can be started by a documentary.
Yes, and the conversation is continuing on the heels of the rebroadcast. We'll be launching a viral video series called We All Have Stuff, where kids will be on camera talking about the stuff they're dealing with. And within that, there will be talk of depression. Some will say, I'm a diabetic, I need an insulin pump. One will say, I came out as a gay male and found out that my family still loves me and supports me and I find great strength. The next one says, I suffer from depression. I see a therapist and I take medication. The last young man says, we all have stuff. Let's help each other. We're going to have a traveling mural that's going to go from school to school where kids can go out and draw an image or write a message about the stuff that he or she is dealing with. All in an effort to normalize this conversation about depression among kids and get them to open up and talk with somebody about it so we can be there to listen and to help.
I don't want to minimize anything, but the teen years are so critically difficult. I mean, you get some acne and it's the end of the world, and I don't mean that in a bad way, it really is. I mean, how important is it to get children with good friendships, because the bullying is a factor. As you said, online harassment was going on. You know, somebody pointing at your face saying, oh, you look ugly and stuff like that. It's just an instant remark. They're not thinking, but it does so much damage.
It does. I think that overall, parents actually, we do try to control a lot of things that our kids are involved in, down to the friendships and who they are and how much time they spend and what they do. So it's important, I think, to try to steer the kids in the right direction, but also not so much control it, but oversee the conversations, oversee the activities, so that you're just kind of there to help navigate them, help coach them if they need it, but also help them bounce back from anything that might happen that could hurt their ego or their psyche.
There are so many different efforts that you've done with the It's All Love, Only Love Coalition. What have you noticed? What changes, what positive attributes have you seen?
What I've seen is that kids have felt very happy that someone has been taking the time to actually bring this up. They want to be able to share their experiences, both from at home, from their personal standpoint, you know, what's going on inside them, but they also want to be active. They want to know how they can help not only themselves but other people. And so I've seen this wonderful uprising within the kids of just being self-aware.
Well, and you look at the anti-bullying efforts that are going on in schools all over, that has to have a positive impact as well.
Absolutely, because everyone is so much more aware now to watch out for each other, to watch out for themselves too, but also they feel that now we're a part of a different kind of club, and it's cool to be kind.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very true. And once again, if you only knew, it's going to be shown again on WQPT. What do you want people to, well, first off, you want to plant people in front of the TV screen.
Absolutely.
And not, you know, you want families because you want the discussion started. What else do you hope to get out of the documentaries airing? I'm
really hoping that we will continue this conversation and that we will continue to talk about it until we come up with resolutions and we're saving the lives of children.
And Christine, I would think that's exactly why you're the perfect person to launch some of these conversations. Almost like a been there, done that, I understand, maybe I can help.
Absolutely, and the kids seem to have no trouble coming to me either, as confidentially as they might think, to share whatever it is that's going on inside them. And so I try to provide a motherly aspect to that if that's what they're in need of, but then also direct them and their families toward more help if that's what's necessary too.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you, Mike, and thank you for the work that you're doing as well. In a moment, the story of the group called Christian Care and how they're trying to build a safety net in the cities. But first, Laura Adams is putting together a great list of events in our area, ways to really enjoy the cities if you go out and about.
This is Out and About for July 31st through August 6th. Hi, I'm Laura Adams. It's time for the Great Mississippi Valley Fair at the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds August 1st through 6th. The First Congregational Church holds an old-fashioned corn boil in Geneseo City Park July 31st. Take part or watch the Freedom Run 5K in downtown East Moline August 3rd. Proceeds benefit the USO. Plus, Monmouth holds one of the largest car shows in Illinois. Maple City Cruise Nights attracts an average of 2,000 vehicles on August 4th, along with food and live music. The Quad Cities British Auto Club holds the Heartland's British Auto Fest in LeClaire, Iowa, August 5th, and Quad City Music Guild presents the musical Sunset Boulevard beginning August 4th. Based on Billy Wilder's Academy Award-winning 1950 film. Neil Simon's hilarious semi-autobiographical play Brighton Beach Memoirs begins its run at the Bruner Theater on August 4th. The Circa 21 Bootleggers perform an entertaining look back at 40 years of live musical theater in No Business Like Show Business. The Bix Beiderbecke Memorial Jazz Festival kicks off August 3rd at Rhythm City Casino Resort in Davenport. The fast-paced improv comedy competition called Comedy Sports at the Establishment in downtown Rock Island is perfect family fun, and Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, a musical bursting with all of the rambunctious energy of the original MGM film, continues on the Circa 21 stage. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. Tony Hepner is a well-known musician and singer-songwriter in the cities, a key part of the group The Who's Dads. But he also has so much to offer as a solo performer, which we got to hear when he performed at the River Music Experience on the RME community stage. Here's Tony Hepner with Living for Today.
Put on my thoughts to ground, gonna let it go. No more nowhere, ain't living no life. Gonna max my credit cards, gonna let it go. Gonna spend my money, have a real good time. Won't worry about nothing, 'cause I'm living for today. Gonna get what I want, gonna do what I please. Gonna dress in style, this is what I need. Checking in with a hotel, just making it sweet. Sipping on champagne, it'll be so sweet. Gonna spend my money, have a real good time. Won't worry about nothing, 'cause I'm living for today. Yeah. Taking a trip somewhere exciting, laying on the beach with the gin and tonic. Gonna live the high life for as long as I can. Give me no strife, doing what I can. Gonna spend my money, have a real good time. Won't worry about nothing, 'cause I'm living for today. Yeah. so much. Appreciate that.
Christian Care is a Rock Island social service organization that's trying to make a difference by making sure people don't slip through the cracks. They specialize in giving people second chances, and they're a godsend to people who have no other one in their lives who they can depend on. And this year, Christian Care is marking 100 years in the cities. Joining us now is Pam Howman, who is the outreach coordinator for Christian Care. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you.
Let's talk about that. 100 years. I mean, what was needed in our community was a lot different 100 years ago than it is today, but in some ways it's not.
Well, there are similarities. 100 years ago, 1916, our founder, Guy Rogers, was kind of down and out as a boxer. He was drinking heavily, had no real future, and I had an epiphany. He found $20 on the sidewalk and found Jesus the same day. Took that $20 and opened up a rescue mission for men. At that time, it was a single room that allowed men to come and get food, clothing, and shelter. We still provide those services, but we're much more than just a shelter where we feed, clothe, and provide that support to men.
Well, and exactly, because part of your program really is re-education, or at least, you know, finding a role in life, either finding a better job or a way to get a better job, kind of the pre-job training. I mean, it's really critically important to have those type of skills in today's society.
Absolutely. What we want to do is transform the lives of the men who come to our attention. We want them involved in completing their education, getting their GED, acquiring job skills or job training, attending AA or NA if that's an issue for them, as well as getting professional counseling if they need it, and getting access to other community resources.
Well, and you deal with people who have either are down and out, maybe chemical dependency, down and out, they're homeless and just can't find a job. People who are transitioning out of the correctional centers. I mean, this is a wide spectrum of men that you're trying to serve.
Absolutely, and include in that veterans as well.
Very good point.
We see between 9 and 12 veterans in our shelter at any one time. So they're dealing with a lot of the effects of, you know, coming back home, trying to become reacclimated, being discouraged, you know, because of unemployment or other things that have gone on in their lives. But homelessness is really a very different situation today than it used to be. It's not the stereotype as we've known it. We're seeing a lot of folks that are really displaced because of unemployment, because they've, you know, undergone a divorce.
Financial reasons for a lot of
financial,
reasons.
major medical. You know, a lot of individuals live paycheck to paycheck, and so they're not prepared for those unexpected catastrophes in life. You know, folks come in to our shelter who you would never expect to see, and we provide them with the resources that they need to essentially regroup.
And the chance to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because these are people generally, they may not have a family, or their family has been taken away from them, or in some instance, they really have no safety net, as I was saying, of either friends or family or colleagues.
Right. A lot of those folks, you know, because of whatever their past may have been, may have burned those bridges.
Sure.
And so it's trying to get them to a point where they can change their thinking and their lifestyle in such a way that they can be successful and be self-sufficient and independent.
Absolutely, and move on with their life and have a successful life as well.
Yes, we are more than food, shelter, and clothing. We're also a community meal site. So we open our doors to those who are hungry. We don't turn anybody away. Last year we served over 60,000 meals. We have a wealth of volunteers who come in and help serve meals, who provide volunteer support, who are also our donors.
Right.
Christian Care really doesn't have a lot of state grants and contracts. So we rely heavily on the generosity of private contributions, company as well as churches.
And I think it's great, as you said, is that you're going to show some success stories, because that's what people want to see, don't they? I mean, they want to see that, yes, it is possible to change lives.
Yes. And that we do give folks a second chance.
That you do.
I mean, because you made a mistake doesn't mean that you have to keep making them.
I'm so glad that you joined me. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Tim.
I appreciate it. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device, thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.